What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, where we are doing one of our favorite things throughout the year, which is to talk about the Royal Rumble pay-per-view that is coming up this Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern for the pre-show. That's going to be a little weird.
Can't decide if I like or dislike that.
I'm leaning way more towards the like. You know, the pay-per-view main card is going to start at 6. AKA, they're going to have 2 hours worth of talking. And then I'm assuming it's going to be over by 10. And, you know, that's pretty great. I'm down for that. Who am I?
When you say that, yeah, me too.
Who am I and who are you?
I am Robert DeFelice. I've not been on the last couple of episodes and might not be on the next couple. We'll see. My life is very fluid right now.
And I'm not going to tell you who I am.
All right.
Figure it out through context clues. Never done that before.
You're Angus Citrus.
Angus Citrus. Okay. When I was getting a dental cleaning the other day, their systems were down, and she's like, I can't like put in your medication and all that other kind of stuff. So what is your name? And I was like, Frank Anderson. And she's like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, it's just the first name that came to my mind. Like, you don't give me a softball joke like that and not have me immediately say something. So maybe I'm Frank Anderson. Maybe I'm Angus Citrus. I don't know. You're going to have to figure that out. That's your homework. As well as to fill out the Royal Rumble predictions contest. Now, that is something that we're going to talk about here in a lot of detail, even though we're not going to break down our number 1 to 30 picks for both the matches, because that would take forever. Also, nobody cares. We've done that before in the past, and I realized that people were just like, yeah, I don't really want to listen to you go, and I think number 1 is so-and-so and number 2 is so-and-so, because there's nothing to base it on, at least when it comes to our
I will
fantasy.
Be throwing out a prediction.
We'll talk about some specific numbers if we have something, but not to be like, hey, I think that Grayson Waller is going to be number 18. Ooh.
And Angus Jones is going to be number 12.
Angus Citrus, what about him?
He'll be 7.
We will talk about numbers when it comes to our matchmaker. We haven't recorded that episode yet because January is Januarying, and things are the way that they are. But we will eventually come back around.
You said this is one of our favorite things to do for the year. How sad is that? Like the first thing we do this year,
right? That's all downhill after this. It's we're on a steady, steep decline. So keep in mind, of course, that we always want to know what you guys have to say. So hit up the Discord server and chat it up throughout the week on any of those different channels that are there. Share some memes, talk about what's happening on the Raw, what's happening, whatever it might be. Also, make sure that you hit the like button on this, subscribe, ring that notification bell, hit that join button, hit the thanks button. Help support us in any way that you can. Redbubble and TeePublic is where you can pick up your merchandise. If you do, in fact, click on the join button, you get early access to things. If you're on the early access, the AdSense block forgiveness, whatever the hell I call it thing, tier or up. We got Darkcast, Patreon, same thing. You know how this all goes. So Royal Rumble predictions. As far as the non-Royal Rumble matches, there's not a whole lot for us to break down because this is a very bare bones type of card. We have the 2 Royal Rumbles, and then we have a 2 out of 3 falls match for the WWE Tag Team Championship. And we have a ladder match for the WWE title. So we were talking about this before we got started. I think that this looks pretty great. Now, in the grand scheme of things, do I wish that maybe they had a few more matches? Well, when you consider that there's 2 hours of a pre-show, I would rather them just not have a 2-hour pre-show and then just have this be the card. And most of the people are going to be on here anyway. We'll talk about how there's not room for everybody, but I don't need this to be another 3 matches on the show and then to go until midnight. Let's put it that way. The Royal Rumbles are here. That's the most important thing. If they would have done nothing but those 2, then I would have been annoyed. But the lineup, I love ladder matches, and it's Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. They're going to have a good match. DIY against Motor City Machine Guns, 2 out of 3 falls. They're going to have a great match. They are 4 really talented wrestlers that have good chemistry together. And the fact that it's a 2 out of 3 falls match means that there's some extra little tweak to it. So it's not just the same match that we've seen on SmackDown. So I'm like, all right, I don't know how there's going to be like a downside to this unless it's just a matter of something happens where the matches aren't good. But I am really looking forward to this pay-per-view. I think that this is going to potentially be on my pay-per-view of either year list at the end of the year.
I would also like to again point out how sad that is. But I am also, I told you before you got on, if it stays with these 4 matches, I can't imagine a more perfect 4 match card for me in the year 2025. You know, a ladder match that has all the sense and purpose in the world to get here, even though it's a silly way to keep the Winged Eagle belt around for a month. They made it make sense. Same thing with Motor City and DIY. That's a great way to kill time. And it's also a Royal Rumble tradition from like I think the first 3 Royal Rumbles had some random 2 out of 3 falls tag matches because
Did it?
Yeah.
Huh.
One even had like a 2 out of 3 falls 6-man with I think it's like the Hart Foundation and Hacksaw Jim Duggan against someone else in the Rougeos. But like the Royal Rumbles before 92 were just insanely random cards just to try to get people to spend money. And in a lot of ways, this kind of hits that nail on the head because any WWE fan would want to see this show. You know, and like that's before we get into the massive Rumble lineup for this year and all the different avenues they have set up. I'm really excited for this show. I hope it's actually as good as I think it's going to be.
When it comes to the matches that we just talked about, because we might as well talk about those, and then the Royal Rumble matches. The DIY Motor City Machine Guns match being 2 out of 3 falls, I can't pick a winner there. I'm very much like, it makes sense to me if Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa retain through some kind of like Motor City Machine Guns get the first fall, DIY gets the second, DIY cheats and gets the third or something. Or maybe this is one of those 2 out of 3 fall scenarios where DIY cheats, they lose the first fall by DQ by like attacking them with chairs, and then they get the next 2. Or it could just very well be, you know what? We took the belts off of Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. We did the heel turn with DIY. Now it's time for us to give the titles back. And then in WrestleMania season, we got Motor City Machine Guns defending. But DIY, Machine Guns, Street Profits still have to come back into the mix somewhere. Pretty Deadly's been having some fun stuff. They're finally being utilized. Los Garza, just the best that they've looked in a while. It's not really saying too much because they're still not looking great, but they're doing something. And it doesn't seem like they're really going to be switching up the rosters as much as we were saying with the transfer window. So it's like, all right, well, we're not throwing like Hank and Tank on here or whatever it might be. But if they continue, I don't know how they can continue all the way through a WrestleMania with the same teams doing the same shtick over and over again. But, you know, maybe we get Tama Tonga and Tongaloa in the mix. Maybe we get something with a new team being created on SmackDown or whatever. But I could see either team winning, and it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I got the team winning as well. I kind of want them to give it back to the Guns. I am down for a little old-fashioned hot potato, with these titles. You know what I mean?
What's your go-to hot potato? Do you get baked potato loaded or what?
I mean, obviously, I go baked potato loaded with some, chives and bacon bits and cheese. And now I'm hungry. You son of a bitch.
Don't put the sour cream on it for me, though. Keep that away.
See, I became a big fan of sour cream within the last 2 years. So I would put the sour cream on.
Just suddenly become a fan, and it's just kind of like, you know what? I think I'm going to be a fan of that.
Yeah, sometimes if you ever just like try something again after you haven't had it for a while, you're actually like, you know what?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Tell us your go-to hot potato in the comments below. But yeah, I mean, I kind of want the Motor City Machine Guns to win too. It sort of depends on where else they want to go with some of the other teams, because I don't want DIY to fall too far short. But one of the things that I like about this so much is that not only is the match going to be good, but it's a match that gets 4 people on the card that otherwise I would have been annoyed if they weren't in the Royal Rumble, but I can fully acknowledge, despite being a fan of these 4, that none of them had any chance of winning. And I wish that Johnny Gargano was in a spot where he was the Daniel Bryan of this era and that they would have been pushing him towards the main event. But they're not. So realistically, if they're not in that kind of scenario, then it's better to keep them out of the Royal Rumble, because I would rather those spots be filled up with other people that could do just as good of a job or fulfill a different type of purpose. Like, if you take those 4 out, I'm looking at the list of the people that are confirmed and the list of the people that haven't been confirmed yet. There are only 15 spots left. And that includes Andrade, Austin Theory, Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, Grayson Waller, Jimmy Uso, Karrion Kross, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Omos, Ludwig Kaiser, Sheamus, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Santos Escobar, Randy Orton, The Miz, Dragon Lee, Braun Strowman, like tons of names. AJ Styles, if he's able to return. You take those 4 names and put them in there, then it also makes like Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins look bad, or somebody like an Otis or Apollo Crews, or anybody that's like not a guaranteed shoe-in. Like, yeah, Damian Priest is going to be in the Royal Rumble. You can bet that way more than Akam and Razor. You know what I mean?
Hey.
And like, I'd put way more stock in the idea of Sheamus being in the Royal Rumble than Tyler Bate coming back in time. But this is cool. You get these 4 out of the Royal Rumble, open up some spots, but they still get to be on the card and they still get to show off their talents, and they still are going to have, I'm guaranteeing they're going to have a great match.
God forbid, no injuries, no anything. I mean, they could have one of the best main roster tag team matches in a couple of years.
Could very well be. And as far as my like predictions go, and yeah, we're going to factor this all in when it comes to the predictions contest and the fantasy league and all that. So we'll touch base more of like guaranteed lock in votes on like the hot tags or something. But right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Motor City Machine Guns win the titles back.
I'd like to see them win the titles back as well. I'm going to say Motor City Machine Guns.
Now, Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes in the ladder match for the WWE Championship. It's going to have the 2 titles hanging above the ring, the Winged Eagle and the actual Undisputed WWE title that is the gold design, not the other design that's in front of the headquarters, and it's not the one that's combined with the Universal title, but it's sometimes the Universal title. They still haven't figured that shit out, which is kind of annoying.
I think this might go a long way in figuring it out. Maybe that's wishful thinking on my behalf, but I think this might help.
You think that this might lead to like a new belt design or something?
I don't know if it'll lead to a new belt design, because they just did a new belt design 2 years ago. But I could see this being a good chance to unify the titles. If I was Cody, I'm fighting. Hey, can I get the can I just keep the Winged Eagle? No, but I think this match is going to be very important. And as much as it sounds like a foregone conclusion that Cody Rhodes is winning, there's also just the idea that like Kevin and Sammy for the championship isn't a far-fetched. It's not as far-fetched as it would have been 8 years ago. You know what I mean? It's an actual route they go down. Like, let's say, God forbid, Cody Rhodes got hurt during this match, right? Kevin Owens could win, set up a WrestleMania match with Sami Zayn, and it's not a far-fetched idea. You know, like, KO is that guy in that range of the main event now. And him and Sammy are the only non-relatives that got elevated by the Bloodline story. I don't count Cody.
I was just going to say, I mean, it depends on if you count Cody or not.
He was gonna win no matter what. He would have won that belt from anyone. It just so happens to be that they didn't know who was going to beat Roman.
Now we'll talk about the idea of like alternative options, because when it comes to the Royal Rumble itself, this is one of those years that, we've had some in the past where it's like, okay, well, 2017, 2016 was the one that Triple H won the title in, or whatever.
2016.
Like, we all knew, like, okay, well, Triple H is going to get involved in that, and somehow it's going to be Triple H versus Roman Reigns. Even when they threw that little thing in with Dean Ambrose at the end where it kind of threw it off, it was still like, nah, that's where we're going. This year is very much in this, like, okay, you could go a couple different directions, and The Rock not being a part of WrestleMania this year opened up the floodgates for, like, okay, now you can rearrange multiple people in multiple ways. And it might not be your favorite card. Like, I'm expecting that this year's WrestleMania is not going to pan out to be the way that I wanted it to, but it still could be, okay, I could see those two. Okay, I could see those two. And then those two, and then those two. Oh, you want to switch up and, change dance partners? Well, okay, this makes sense now too. And, they're setting up this thing with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And I do see people that are like, okay, Kevin Owens is going to win then, because of this reason or that. So I'm firmly in the Cody Rhodes is going to retain camp, but that still doesn't mean that there's not enough of a setup for it to be like a ladder match is a decent way for Cody to lose without actually losing,
See, if we didn't just exist in an era, because we had to talk a little bit about Raw, that Cody Rhodes CM Punk promo seemed to really fast track the idea that Cody Rhodes is losing it. And granted, he hasn't shown any signs of that leading up to this, but they seemed to fast track that idea. And it does kind of seem like, regardless of who he faces, because yes, I do think Cody Rhodes will win, the idea is going to be that he's, I don't say going full Homelander, because people make that joke so often with Cody, but it's basically that, right? Like, he's going to the idea of, I did such for you people, and God, the minute I won that belt, you were chanting OTC. You think I didn't notice that? Like, but there's still so many options, and that's what makes this so exciting. Still, at the end of the day, I gotta go Cody Rhodes pulls down both championships, and the feud with Kevin is over. Maybe Kevin finds his way into the Rumble. I could see a scenario where that happens.
It's happened before.
Unlike the years where Roman was champion, because that's a fun thing we get to talk about this year, Roman is not champion. Because Roman's in the Rumble, and because everybody's in the Rumble, it's a guarantee that this ladder match is not closing the show.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm assuming that what the lineup is going to be is probably either Women's Royal Rumble, tag team match, ladder match, Men's Royal Rumble.
Or ladder match, Women's Rumble, tag match, Men's Rumble.
Yeah,
there's almost no other way around that.
We're still like not quite used to the setup of how they do these pay-per-views over the past year, because it's only been a year, but like the old school, okay, what's the buffer match doesn't quite apply the same way anymore, because Correct. They have so much downtime between matches with commercials and bullshit. So they could very easily be like, all right, the Royal Rumble itself, that's an hour-long block. So do you start off and go, hey, everybody, you had 2 hours of pre-show to go to the bathroom. Now's your hour. And then take a break for a while? Or do they go, okay, we're going to do a match, and then now we're going to run some commercials, and then we've got the Royal Rumble. This is your last chance to go to the bathroom and whatever. You can be somebody like me who just like doesn't, especially on a Royal Rumble night where it's like, okay, let me update 1,500 things in a row.
Anything can happen. This is one of those nights where it's like, oh, I blinked. Well, I'll give you a good example, because we got to talk about this too. Last night on Raw, I blinked, and apparently Michael Cole said the transfer window closes after Sunday. after this weekend transfer window is closed.
Crazy.
Which,
like, they do that in a way that's like bothersome to me. Like, you know, like you have to just sort of be like, okay, I now really have to pay attention to the commentary because like the Zelina Vega thing, like they didn't call any attention to it. It was just Zelina Vega's out there with the Latino World Order, and Michael Cole casually is like, yeah, by the way, she's been transferred over to SmackDown and she's leaving the LWO, at least for now.
and if you're somebody who leaves during entrances, Michael Cole is like, hey, I've got big news about Zelina Vega coming up next, and you're like, is she injured again? But no, she's going to SmackDown.
Yeah, I started to write up that she was declared for the Royal Rumble.
No,
because I was like,
thought,
big news. Okay, that's gonna be like, and she's also declared for the Royal Rumble or something.
I thought she was injured. But no, she's going to SmackDown. I have theories that you'll hear about later in this podcast. Not Austin theories. Although he might be Atlanta's favorite son.
That's up for debate now. It's certainly not Xavier Woods. I'm loving this New Day shtick when it comes to that. I think that they're having a lot of fun too. So yeah, I mean, I am going Cody Rhodes over Kevin Owens here. And to me, the real question isn't so much whether or not Cody is going to win or, you know, if he walks out as champion for the first match of the night or any of the other stuff we were just talking about, but more so, does somebody else get involved? Because that could be Sami Zayn, but I don't think it is. And it could be Randy Orton. But to me, it sort of cheapens it if Cody only retains through Randy Orton helping. And I don't think that there's anybody that stands out to me, at least, that would help Kevin Owens out to where Randy Orton would come out to help out Cody and even the odds.
Well, it's weird because I thought that when Randy went away, it was storyline based. But he's been gone long enough at this point that as much as I know everybody's sick of Kevin versus Sammy, right now, Kevin versus Sammy makes more sense from a storyline perspective than, oh, hey, Randy's back, and it's Randy, you know?
I'm anticipating that either here or on an episode of SmackDown coming up, Owens is going to get attacked by Randy Orton, and they're going to just reignite that feud.
See, I'm still kind of in the camp of Rollins, McIntyre. Well, let me put it to you like this. This is the year that if you wanted to bring WrestleMania Money in the Bank back, you could probably reasonably do it and say, look, there's too many major single stars that don't have a firm rivalry. Throw them all in Money in the Bank. I'm talking Rollins. You know, you get that like plan adjacent people who all want to be champion but don't have a singles feud, and throw them Money in the Bank. Because my other idea, which nobody likes, is you could always do a 6-man tag, Sammy and the Usos against McIntyre, Seth, and Kevin. But I say that, and your response would probably be, no, I don't like that. Ew. A 6-man tag at WrestleMania?
Yeah, not a big fan of them doing that.
See, so it's like...
But I wouldn't put Money in the Bank there. I would put a different thing. Like I've pitched before that if they don't want to do the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania anymore, and they want to just... Well, see, we don't even know if that's going to return this year either. Because you would assume that it probably would be on the SmackDown prior, but now we have the whole Netflix thing. It's like, well, are they going to do that on the Raw after WrestleMania? That could be where they end up doing that. Another story for another day. But
I can see it's not happening because, like, look, I think the statue's cool and all, but like, it's been 10 years. People know the Battle Royal doesn't mean anything.
But they did do more with Bronson Reed this time. Arguably, this has been like the best that they've pushed somebody since maybe Cesaro, I guess.
Yeah.
But I've pitched before, do a scramble. And instead of like being a ladder match, make it a scramble match. And then make it number one contender or something. But I think we're going to get some multi-man matches for like, you know, fatal 4-way for the Intercontinental title and stuff. Just as a means to incorporate a lot of people. But even still, I mean, I can't figure out how a lot of these people are going to get on the card. So I think Owens is going to be more with Orton at WrestleMania than for it to be Sami Zayn, but I can't think of anything for Sami Zayn to necessarily do, or, Drew McIntyre, or no, we'll talk about Seth in a bit, but it's still up in the air enough to go back to the point about like who's even winning the Royal Rumble. That's up in the air enough that if they decided to go in one direction or another or something like that, I'm not going to be like, well, I mean, it depends. If they end up saying, hey, Kevin Owens is champion, he beats Cody Rhodes, and Cody's going to fight Ivar, and Kevin's going to fight Bronco Nima, I'm going to be like, what the fuck is happening? But,
Bronco Nima, nice.
Yeah, random pull. But I'm going to go Kevin Owens doesn't win the title here.
See, I'm not sure, but I think the safe money is Kevin Owens doesn't win.
So now let's talk about the 30-woman Royal Rumble. We have 10 confirmed names so far. Bayley, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, who's going to be making her return. And, I guess her entrance is going to be her on a yacht. Ivy Nile, Io Sky, Liv Morgan, Lyra Valkyria, Naomi, Nia Jax, and Raquel Rodriguez. That opens up, of course, 20 extra names that have not been confirmed yet, but still have some time to be confirmed, especially when it comes to like SmackDown. I don't think we're going to get any confirmation about anybody tonight on NXT, but it's a possibility. So if that happens prior to the hot tags when we record that, we'll talk about that stuff. But I think we have some people that we have to toss out as guaranteed, even though they're not confirmed. Roxanne Perez is 100% being in this Royal Rumble.
I'd like to hope so.
And she either eliminates Bayley or Bayley eliminates her. They have to do something together.
I can see that.
I think it's pretty safe to assume, all things considered, Natalia's going to be in here. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going to skip Natty. I fully expect, which is really weird that they didn't announce this, Candice LeRae to be in here. Because they made it a point. Everybody in that segment on SmackDown was like, I'm confirmed. And Nia Jax is like, I'm double, triple confirmed because I keep declaring myself over and over again. And Candice is next to her like, yeah.
I'm the speed champion.
And then it's like the graphic pops up on the screen and it's like, okay, Raquel, okay, Liv, where's Candice? And that's really weird. So either that is an oversight on their part where they care so little about Candice LeRae that they were like, oh shit, we forgot about her. Or they care so little about Candice LeRae that they're like, well, we don't want to confirm her because if we run out of spots, she's on the chopping block to go.
That's terrible. Come on now.
It sucks no matter what. But Candice, of course, is not going to win this match. But she should be in the match. She, damn sure deserves it. And some other people that haven't been confirmed yet are pretty much a guarantee. Like, I highly doubt that Michin's not going to be in here. I highly doubt that Pure Fusion Collective isn't going to take up 3 of those spots. I'm a little on the fence about Damage Control in some ways, because Dakota Kai is potentially injured, it seems, right?
Yeah, they were. PWI said something like that.
So I'm gonna assume Dakota's out, and we haven't had Kyrie in a long while. She injured too? Pretty sure.
I'd say so.
Asuka, we don't know when she's gonna return. Could be now, maybe not. You got people on the roster that don't really particularly wrestle a whole lot, like B-Fab, although she's been wrestling more often. Scarlett never really wrestles, so I don't have Scarlett in there. Elektra Lopez is somebody that they can very easily just boot out of the match, and I don't think anybody would really care except for Elektra Lopez's stands and stuff. And obviously Elektra Lopez would care,
yeah,
but
I think her Elektra Lopez might care more about that than the stand.
Is Zelina injured?
No, I think she must be. If they're putting her on SmackDown, she must be healthy.
Well, I don't know about that because she as far as I remember, she hasn't wrestled in a while. But yeah, so she last wrestled on December 30th.
Okay, I mean,
So
that was a month ago, but at the same time, maybe they just don't have anything for her.
Let's see. Is Zelina Vega injured? Well, on December 29th, it seems there's a report about her having an injury. And she was pulled from the speed tournament on the 30th.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes, she was.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Zelina might sit this one out, which is a shame because she always has really good Royal Rumble gear. Like, pretty much at the beginning of the year, it's one of the first things I write down for the end of the year awards is like, all right, best outfit is like Zelina Vega at the Royal Rumble. So, I don't know, maybe she just still comes out and just goes like, hey, look, I'm this video game character or something. But we are probably not going to get Alexa Bliss based off of the reports about her like not signing a new contract and all.
Well, I think it's time. I think it's time we just see Bliss in the Royal Rumble. I want her to be Goddess Bliss.
Me too.
I understand that apparently the Wyatt 6 angle creative was hinging on her, which kind of sucks for them. But at the same time, I had so much Spooky Bliss. All we've gotten is Spooky Bliss. I want a return to form. Like, it's crazy, but it's almost 10 years ago already that it was like every podcast we were going, can't count out Bliss. Bliss is going to win if she's doing anything. And I miss that version of Alexa.
Yeah, I am much more of a fan of Goddess Bliss than, Spooky One. And Spooky One's got like some benefits to it. Like, it does give her...
Lily.
Oh, yeah, fuck that doll. That shit was awful. But like, she got to flex like some different acting skills because I still consider her one of the best on the mic for the women's division. Not many people can touch her when it comes to that. So I've had my share of that. I actually wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind her going back to the Sparkle thing for like a one shot. Just to, I remember this from like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was. But I'm going to count her out. I'm going to count out some other people. Like, I don't think Nikki Cross is going to be in here because what's the purpose of throwing her in there? And then on top of that, they're really like, you got to start to fill in the spots with some other people then, because you throw in like a Piper Niven, a Maxine Dupree, the Unholy Union, et cetera, et cetera. That fills up the spots only if you incorporate two more names outside of the people that like, maybe you throw a BFAB in there and then it's only one more name that you need.
I can see BFAB getting a spot because she's worked really hard.
I could see her getting a spot potentially too, but I also don't have her on my list right now. I have my 30 people written out with a few that are like, oh, that could be an off pick. And it all depends on some odd specific factors. Like, is Jade Cargill actually injured and is she ready to go? And then
I think Jade's in this.
I think she is too. And what about like a return of like a Kiana James? We haven't heard anything about her for a long time.
If she's a Royal Rumble return, doesn't spell good for the rest of her career. Because I'm sorry, but I see this Royal Rumble having some big moments, and James will be swallowed up in that.
Yeah, I think it's better if she doesn't show up. Just have her show up on Raw. Same thing with Asuka, actually. Like, I could see Asuka being in here more than Kiana, but I would rather Asuka show up just on an episode of Raw or SmackDown or something and just be like, okay, the focus is on Asuka.
Damage control member injured. Damage control member.
Swap in, swap out. Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch is going to be in this Royal Rumble.
I am 90-10 that Becky Lynch is going to be in this. But the two other names that I have out here that are harder to, kind of set as like a guarantee. Jordynne Grace is, by all accounts, now a member of the WWE roster.
They have signed her, according to Sean. She's on the roster. She's in this Rumble. She might win this Rumble.
That's the thing that's so cool about that. Because she might go to NXT. After, they've done this whole crossover thing and all, they could just be like, and guess what? Like, she's now a part of this now. But she's done the NXT thing. And she's so good already as it is that you don't need her to be in NXT. Plus, you just put the belt on Julia. And they're already kind of moving away from the idea of Stephanie Vaquero being in that title hunt. She seems very firmly in the women's North American title hunt. Zarya is now just like hanging around backstage with Sol Ruka, which is kind of strange. So it's a crowded scene.
I can see Zarya getting the spot.
Zarya could very well get a spot too, yeah. They could throw Lash Legend in here. They could put somebody like a Sol Ruka. They could, maybe this is the last opportunity that they have to put Meiko Satomura in here. They might want to do something with that with her retiring soon. You could put Cora Jade in. Give a spot to Kelani Jordan. Jada Parker would get a lot of attention if she ended up popping up on here. Lola Vice. They could do a lot with that. But I don't think it's going to be anything from NXT, to be honest.
I think there's going to be quite a few names from NXT because if they are leaving out names like Candice and Piper, this is you've got the Kalanis and the Lash Legends, and you can go look at how great the NXT women's roster is. Watch it on the CW. This is a good excuse for that.
I would love it if they ended up taking out the people that everybody knows isn't going to do well. Like, you take out Elektra Lopez, you take out Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, Alba Fire, Isla Dawn. Blair Davenport's not going to do anything. Like, take them out and put in like a Kalani, put in JC Jane, whatever it might be. I think that would be a really good way for them to spotlight some more people. Right now, I do have Jordynne Grace being in my list, and I have her as like, she could very well be in the Final Four. She could very well win. Well, the Final Four is tough too, because I've got 6 people that I think stand a really good chance of being in the Final Four. And obviously, 6 people can't be in the Final
Liv
Four.
Morgan.
I don't have Bayley in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
Bianca.
Yep.
Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan. Becky. And
Jade Cargill.
See, I think Jade Cargill's going straight for Naomi, and if something's going to happen there. But I think Jade's in this, and I think we're going to know who attacked her.
I mean, if she comes back and we don't know who attacked her, that's going to be really strange. But it's also like, if she knows who attacked her, then why isn't she said anything? That's the flawed logic of WWE. But yeah, Bianca, Jade, Liv, Flair, Becky, Jordan. 6 names right there that could be in the Final Four.
Bianca stands a strong chance at winning too, by the way.
She's got a good shot because it's like, realistically speaking, it's not a guarantee, but Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton are walking into WrestleMania as champions. I don't think either of them is dropping it beforehand. And Tiffany was treated as kind of a babyface on SmackDown. Like, people are, of course, were already asking about, like, are you going to update the heel and face turn list? And I'm like, she didn't do anything that was like...
That was when she took out all the girls with the moonsault, right?
She did that, and she was also, like, making fun of Nia with Rhea and acting more like kind of like getting the crowd behind her.
I mean, I'm not against it. If you believe Fightful Select, and you should subscribe for $6, you should do that. And it's Sean says Charlotte and Tiffany's been discussed. Rio Bianca has been discussed. Doesn't mean those are the solid matches, but I think those are solid options.
And you got the potential of, which I don't want this to be the case, but it could very well be, that Becky wins to challenge Rhea. You've got Jordynne Grace out there. I'm thinking
that Becky's going to go after Lyra.
Ooh.
I'm thinking it's Becky Lyra at Mania. And that Becky takes a step back.
Oh, I did not think of that.
And goes, hey, I know I'm a top star, but let me try to elevate this person and help out this belt.
And realistically, like, look, Ivy Nile is in this match. She's apparently gunning for the Women's Intercontinental title. But I don't think we're dedicating a WrestleMania match to like an Ivy Nile versus Lyra Valkyria. So if you are going to have Ivy and Lyra and, you know, Maxine and Natty and all these other people in like a 6-pack challenge or something, people are going to go, I can skip it. Mid-card titles are mid-card. That's kind of the whole point. But if you put Becky Lynch, suddenly now Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria for the Women's Intercontinental Championship is justified to be on the WrestleMania card. I didn't think about that. That's going to make me potentially switch some stuff around here. Because I was leaning more towards the idea that the final four would be Charlotte, Becky, Jade, and Bianca. And that there would be something where like Bianca and Jade one of them would eliminate the other one. Kind of thinking Bianca gets tossed out by Jade, Jade gets tossed out by Charlotte or something. But with Jordynne Grace being in there, the only thing I can think of is I also have on here, I think Masha Slamovich is going to be in this. And I think that's part of their NXT TNA crossover thing. We've had 2 years of that with the Knockouts champion being involved. Is it 2? Jordynne Grace and Mickey?
It wasn't 2 consecutive though.
But it was Mickey and then it was Jordynne Grace, right?
It was Mickey in 22, genuinely because I think they forgot they fired her, and Jordan in 24.
I think Masha's going to be in this, and I think that we're going to get a stare down moment between Masha and Jordynne, and the commentary team is going to be like, well, look at this, like, you know. It was only a few months ago when Masha Slamovich beat Jordynne Grace to win the Knockouts Championship, and now they're fighting again here, whatever. There's a history between those two. And then Masha could either get taken out by Jordynne Grace or taken out by like a Jade or Charlotte or, you know, Raquel or whoever they want to, you know, give a like spot to. Masha's not going to be in the final four. Let's put it that way. But Jordynne Grace could win this. And it could be Jordynne Grace versus Rhea Ripley. They could imagine the push if they go, hey, we're going to put Jordynne Grace in here. She's going to go straight to the main roster. And on her first main roster true like match or whatever, she's winning the Royal Rumble and she's going to fight for the title at WrestleMania. Be a hell of a way to put somebody over. Now, I don't think that that's going to happen, to be honest, because Jordynne Grace could very well just go to NXT, or she could just be like, okay, well, we don't want to put her in the Royal Rumble. We want to wait her until after or something. Or even just if she's in it,
yeah,
she could be like,
needs to be in the Rumble, even if she's just going to NXT.
I'd put her in there, even if she's just like, okay, she gets to like the final 7 or something. But I think she should have a good showing. I think it should be like Jordynne Grace takes out like the Pure Fusion Collective group, or like, you know, she single-handedly takes out Piper Niven, or, you know, something that could be kind of like, okay, let's pay attention to her. And Liv Morgan, she's got to have a decent enough showing because she's one of the biggest characters that they've got right now. But I really couldn't justify Liv Morgan winning this match and being like, I'm going to challenge Rhea. Then it would be like, oh my God, you only have one thing to do. If she didn't have
the year that she had, I remember thinking at the end of last year's Rumble, okay, next year she should win. But she had a very prosperous year, so I don't think she should win.
Now, you know what's weird too is it doesn't seem like this should be a big factor, but it kind of is because it's like a House of Cards kind of thing. We're recording this at 20 after 4. Yeah. So depending on when you listen to this, might be a little bit later on. NXT tonight, Bianca Belair and Jade, and Naomi are defending the women's tag titles against Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. up until Monday, I was thinking that there was actually a pretty decent chance that the titles could change hands. But now they just had Liv Morgan and Raquel
They've
Rodriguez.
had Liv Morgan and Raquel beat the champions twice.
And it's like they're kind of setting up that they could be at least the next in line for the shot, if not the next champions. And I think that there's a very strong chance we get Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are holding the women's tag titles sooner rather than later. So that kind of makes me go, okay, well, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson have to lose in order for that to happen, which then kind of puts a little bit of a damper on my theory that it was going to be that they were involved with Charlotte and that had something to do with the Jade Cargill thing, and we would get like Bianca, Jade, and Naomi against Charlotte and Lash and Jakara. All of that all hinges on, well, I don't fucking know. So right now, I'm going to say for some of these predictions, most eliminations, I'm dancing between Bianca or Nia Jax, and I'm thinking it's going to go to Bianca.
I like that. I would say make it Charlotte. It's her first match back almost. It's been over a year. So I'll say Charlotte.
If Becky's in here, and if she's in a good enough spot, there's a good chance that Becky just tosses out like 5 people in no time, too. Longest time, I'm going to say Liv Morgan. Bianca's a very close second for me on that.
Depends on if we want Charlotte to have a full entrance.
Charlotte's post 25 for me, I think.
I'm thinking about it, but I'll say longest time. Ooh, you know what? It's not like there's any points on this. Roxanne, because she wants to break Bayley's record.
Huh, that'd be interesting. Shortest time. Well, I don't think we're going to get a spot this year that's dedicated to like humiliating somebody.
Chelsea Green being a failure.
Yeah, like, a 4-second thing or something like Valhalla has had. So I think it kind of depends on if Isla Dawn or Blair Davenport or one of these people that they don't really value super high up is in the match, then they're just kind of by default be the person who gets the shortest time. But it might end up being like, I don't know, say Zoe Stark, or it might be Meechin that lasts like a minute and a half. I don't think we're going to get like somebody goes in and out immediately.
There's not really a brat that's like equipped for that. So yeah, if I had to guess shortest time, then Elektra Lopez, if she's in it.
Who's your final 4?
Charlotte, Jordynne Grace, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair.
I'm going to go Charlotte, Becky, Bianca, Jade. I think I'm going to stick to that. I think Liv Morgan's going to be number 5. And right now, I'm leaning towards Charlotte winning.
I'm going to say, this is a really hard one because I think it's time for a 2-time winner for the women, being either, Charlotte or Becky, because I don't think Bayley's going to go back to back. I'm going to say Charlotte with you, but I'd like to see Jordynne Grace. I'd like to see Jordynne Grace be the winner.
I would be 100% down for that.
But it should be a fun one. The most interesting thing about the Women's Rumble this year is, will the theme songs be recognizable?
Well, the answer for that is no.
Because that to me has stood out the last 2 years where you're like, I don't know whose music this is. So
I don't know how the company doesn't see that that's an issue.
Also, we haven't talked about any possible legends coming back.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to mention. And the fact that we didn't have any of these people brought up as like, potential winners and all that stuff too, I think speaks volumes. But we could very easily take out a couple names on this list, like take out the Unholy Union or take out, Maxine Dupree, whatever it might be. I would love to see AJ Lee on here. It's not going to happen, probably. Nikki Bella also apparently is like,
oh, right. Yeah,
somewhere in the mix.
You know what? I forgot that they had said that she's working on a comeback, and she's probably in here. And yeah, I think if she's in there, it's just Nikki. It's not Brie.
Yeah. And that too, it's like, there's that part of me that wants to just be like, okay, we don't have 30 spots for all these people, so who do I take out? And it's like, well, do I take out Katana Chance and Kaden Carter and put in Nikki Bella and Asuka? Do I take out Iladon and Alba Fire and put in B-Fab? Do I take out Elektra Lopez and put in Zelina Vega? Like, there's so many different potential opportunities. And it's really hard this year for both matches, I think, to determine even who's going to be in the Royal Rumble, let alone who can win. So that's something that I find really cool that I'm really looking forward to.
I'm going to say Michelle's in it.
Michelle McCool is always an option, yeah.
I'm going to say Nikki Bella. Melina, I think, will be in it.
Why Melina?
She was training recently with Zelina. I would love AJ Lee to return. I mean, I think, and look, this is the truth. That particular version of the Divas era gets no love. But I think people underestimate how many individuals will lose their minds if AJ Lee's in the ring. Imagine this. All right, it's Bayley's in the ring. It's Bayley and Masha squaring off with Cora and Roxanne. Oh, Cora gets Masha out of there. They're, ganging up on Bayley. Buzzer goes off. It's AJ Lee. Place goes nuts. Like, and this is the time to do it because it's the Rumble. Like, no one is expecting you to win. You can just have a fun little spot and be thrown out in 2 minutes. I would love to see AJ Lee return.
I am always down for an AJ Lee return in any fashion that they want to do it. I'm not going to put her in my group of 30.
I'm not putting her in mine either because I don't think she wants to do it, but I think it would get an insane pop.
Through this conversation, I've taken off Dawn, Fire, Chance, and Carter and added B-Fab, Nikki Bella, Asuka, and I'm like, I have an empty spot now, and I'm like, I don't know who I want that empty spot to be, because it's like, it's not going to be Bliss, it's not going to seemingly be the other members of Damage Control. I don't think it'll be Kiana. I don't know about Zelina. And then I'm like looking at the NXT group, and I'm like, they could very easily just be like Izzy Dame, and it's just like, okay,
they like her, they like her a lot. She always gets spots.
I think right now I'm gonna actually put Lash Legend in there because I could see them being like, I mean, we know that Lash Legend has more.
I want them to win the titles tonight.
Do you think that they will, or do you just want it?
I want, much like you, before they seem to be going with the Raquel Liv move, I thought, give it to them. Give NXT a moment. Who cares? And you can start the split with Bianca and Naomi. Because Naomi Jade is going to be something going into Mania.
I like that we don't know.
I love that we don't know.
And
this is the most exciting thing. And granted, yes, like I said, they can just do. And of course, it was Charlotte. How did you not think it was going to be Charlotte? And we can look back on this in 5 years and be like, that was such a predictable game Rumble. But right now, It's very exciting.
And now applying the same kind of thought process to the men's match.
Absolutely.
Again, I don't know for sure where they're going to go with a lot of this. And that makes it so much more entertaining because we have 15 names. So it's a little bit more than the women's. But those 15 names that are confirmed are Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Chad Gable, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, John Cena, LA Knight, Logan Paul, Penta, Rey Mysterio. That's going to be a fun stare down at some point. Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Now I'll go ahead and I'll spoil the names that are on my list right now. I have filling out those remaining 15 spots. Andrade, I feel like he's pretty safe to assume.
Agree.
I've got Austin Theory and Grayson Waller.
I'd agree.
But I don't feel as confident that they are guaranteed. I've got Damian Priest. I feel like he's a shoe-in, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic Mysterio, absolutely.
Finn Balor, but they have been making it a point to be like, nobody's seen him since he lost. So... What?
Yeah.
He was on Raw last week.
They're acting like he hasn't been seen since he lost in the street fight.
Did we miss the okay, whatever.
So I'm like, maybe they're doing that for a reason. I assume Jimmy Uso is going to be in this.
I agree.
I assume Karrion Kross is going to be in this.
Maybe not.
He could very well not be.
Him being involved with this whole Sammy thing is making me nervous.
I have Kofi Kingston still on here and not Xavier Woods. But
Kofi Kingston, honest to God, should get a spot this year where he's just like, I'm Mr. Royal Rumble. I'm the best. And just gets immediately chucked. Feet hit the ground.
Well, I'm going to flat out say that that's the case too. I think Kofi Kingston's going to have the shortest time.
I like it.
I think it's going to be like, hey, we've seen Kofi save himself for all this, great pop moments. And he's going to get immediately tossed out because they're making it a point still that everybody hates him.
They're just like, fuck Kofi and Xavier for what they did to Big E. Even though, the more you think about it, the more you're like, all they said was, hey, you waited until we were fighting.
Yeah, they're really not wrong. To be like, it's been a couple of years of you not being on here. If you wanted to be our manager, you would have done that. But, fuck you then, man. But I think, with like Ludwig Kaiser and Pete Dunne last night on Raw being like giving them the stink eye and all, I can very well see Kofi being in and out. So I don't have Xavier Woods on here though, because I don't think that they need to double up on that. I think Kofi and Woods have the same spot. I've got Ludwig Kaiser on here. I don't have Pete Dunne on here. I've got Sheamus. I've got The Miz.
Butch?
Yeah. I've got The Miz, who is another one of my picks as potential shortest time. And I've got Solo Sikoa, but I think I might need to remove Solo from that. And I have two other spots that I'll talk about in a moment. Because it's
I
like,
want
okay,
Solo in here, but they're being weird with Solo.
They're being really weird with Solo. And the fact that he's not even saying anything, let alone doing anything, and they're pushing Jacob Fatu so strong, I think Braun Strowman's written off. He's not going to be in the Royal Rumble. They did this whole like Saturday night's main event, attack angle thing. He's spitting up blood in that thing. They wrote him off for the Royal Rumble, I think. I don't think you're going to toss out people like Los Garza. I think they're just, as much as I like Santos Escobar, I think that they're like, well, you know what? You sit this one out. You're not all that important at the moment. I had Randy Orton down as like, okay, that's his big return. Now I'm not putting Randy in there. So I'm like, Solo, do I put Jacob in there? Do I put Tama Tonga in there? Do I keep them out? Do I put R-Truth in instead?
Oh, Jacob Fatu needs to be. In fact, I'm gonna go right now and say most eliminations, Jacob Fatu.
I'm kind of leaning towards there's not going to be Tama Tonga. It's either just going to be Jacob Fatu, no solo as well, or Jacob Fatu is not even going to be in it either. And that missing spot that I have like lingering with the Solo Sikoa thing is potentially like R-Truth or Pete Dunne.
Truth always gets a fun spot in, and considering that he can still go, I think they should try. We didn't say any NXT names yet.
No, and they could put in lots of different names. Trick Williams is a really, really solid, like, it would be really a lot of fun. Number one, Carmelo Hayes. Number two, Trick Williams.
Yeah. I thought about it. I got some fun ideas for 1 and 2 this year, because this is a year you can really play around with it.
They could do like throw in like a Wes Lee. They could throw in Ethan Page.
Joe Hendry
think has a really good. Well, Joe Hendry I do have on my list. I think it's a guarantee at this point. Joe Hendry's going to be in here because Joe Hendry had done that little tease. I think that they're going to want to put both the women's and men's knockouts and TNA World Heavyweight Champions on this, and I think it's just too much of a pop.
I'm going to go a step further. It's another great choice for number 1.
I think he's coming out around like 11.
But that's another. If you think about his entrance style,
true,
it's a great choice for number 1.
It could be, or number 2, because you could get number 1 being like, say, I don't know, like a Shinsuke or something, and then be like, okay, now the whole big reaction thing, hands are still clapping along.
Well, you got to think about like number 1 being Carmelo, because he is him, and Carmelo getting on the mic and being like, nobody can touch me. I don't care if it's John Cena, blah, 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 blah. I don't care who it is, what or whatever his name is, and then it's say his name.
Yeah, that'd be great. The other person that I have down on my list of like an outsider that I think is a very, very solid, like, I'm putting a lot of
last night.
Huh?
Is it the person I mentioned to you last night that I think could also be number 1 or 2?
I don't think so. I don't remember who you mentioned last night.
I mentioned that I could see number 1 being Penta and number 2 being Aleister Black.
Oh, Aleister Black. No, Aleister Black is on my like hold on list with like Omos and AJ Styles. I know a lot of people are like, hey, maybe he'll be able to make his return, which that's like, I'm keeping AJ off my list because I'm like, all right,
keeping AJ off my list as well, just because I don't want to break my own heart.
Yeah. Aleister Black, I don't know when his thing is over.
His thing is over.
It's officially done?
Yeah. I believe so, at least. And I could always double check that, but he's done with AEW. They've moved on from him. They're the Hounds of Hell, and he's got an entrance that behooves the number 1 spot. It's the, if he does the exact same entrance that he had in NXT, it's a great entrance for number 1. That's the way I'm thinking right now, is like, who's got these elaborate entrances that you need to have a certain spot in the Rumble?
You're convincing me enough that I think I'm going to take R-Truth, Solo Sikoa, Pete Dunne, Jacob Fatu, that whole group. I'm going to put Aleister Black in there. Which again, there's so many people. Like, what do you mean you don't have Solo and Randy and Santos and Jacob and R-Truth and Pete Dunne and Trick and Ethan Page and all that on there? But it's like, well, there's not enough room for everybody.
There's also Ethan Page, who The Rock smacked his ass.
I've seen people toss out the idea that number 31 is The Rock. And I was like, you know what? That could be kind of fun.
I did as well until January 6th happened, and he just said, nah, everybody loves Dwayne.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like, don't y'all love me in my piss jars? But the
what's the deal there? I've seen a couple of YouTube videos about that. What's going on?
Yeah, apparently he just has a like a recurring thing where he like pees in bottles around like sets and like at the gym and stuff.
Surely he's got money for his own private bathroom. Like,
you would think so, but no, people are into weird things. But now the person that I am like annoyed that I didn't think about this, and if I tell it to you and you would go, oh god damn it, then you'll feel the same kind of like dunce cap moment. This is in Indianapolis.
yeah.
Pat McAfee.
Oh fuck.
Like, come on, Pat McAfee's gonna be in the Royal Rumble.
No, I don't want him to take over the spot.
I think it's pretty much a guarantee.
Well, by the way, Raw got 3 million global views on Netflix. They just the numbers just came out. Crazy time for the company. But no, I don't want Pat McAfee in the Royal Rumble. I don't know. Unless Michael Cole is behind him in his spandex and gets to throw him out for the mean things you were saying last night about Michael Cole's physique.
What a Corey Graves.
Oh, you know what? There was a weird moment. Were you paying attention to commentary last night?
Not particularly.
There was a weird moment where Michael Cole was like, well, Bianca and Naomi will be defending against Jade, Lash Legend, and Jakara Jackson, and Vic Joseph will be on the call. 1, 2, and then Pat McAfee goes, and Graves, and Booker. Come on, they'll all be great. I was like, that kind of seems a little like a little dig, but I don't know.
Huh. And Vic Joseph will be on the call. Just that?
Yeah, it's very weird. Because I'm like, Booker T, too, you know?
Yeah, Booker's
I'd
like,
forgotten
it's not like
that
Booker's
Corey was
not
also on the call.
a regular. Like, yeah.
But I'd be down for Corey Graves in the Royal Rumble. I'd be down for Bad News Barrett in the Royal Rumble.
I'd love to see Bad News Barrett in there. Shit. There's still, like, I mean, it's like a 0.5%, but there's still part of me that's like, man, it'd be so cool if Kofi Kingston's in there and Xavier Woods is in there and Big E pops up.
I would just be mad. Because if he can wrestle, fuck you. Like, why did you break them up?
I don't think we're getting like the Creed brothers or like the Wyatt Six or, you know, but there's a lot of people that I think are going to sit this out. Like Otis is going to sit this one out, I think.
It's wild that the Wyatt Six aren't heavily featured. They came in so hot.
Well, typical Bray Wyatt type scenario, right? Something catches a lot of attention. Seems like it's got a lot of potential. Within a couple months, it's nothing again.
The problem is it's not Bray. Otherwise, Bray would at least, you know, have gotten in the match, I think.
Well, Bray would have been in the match for sure, yeah. But I mean, I'm looking at this list and it's like, if you put, let's just say, okay, you put in a few of these that are guaranteed, like Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, Andrade.
Boys. What are the
Hardy Boys could very
That's
well,
also an option.
You could throw in like a Josh Alexander. You could throw in.
He's not free until February.
Oh, I thought he was already done. Oh, what about a Matt Cardona?
Man, he deserves it, but they're not going to do it.
No, I don't think so. I know some people are out there putting out the idea that Goldberg will be in this, but I don't think so.
Well, see, if he was in it, I feel like he'd have a decent shot at winning because
that Goldberg Gunther thing.
Gunther, yeah, like.
And it's like we never use Omos for anything. Is Omos going to be in this to get that whole thing?
Omos did just vacate the Noah GHC Tag Team Championship.
Which then it's like, who do you cut? Because, you know, do you cut out Austin Theory and Grayson Waller? Do you cut out Ludwig Kaiser? Like, there's only 15 spots left. And if you toss out Priest, Dom, Jimmy, Sheamus, Miz, like McAfee, Hendry, Black, you're at what, 8 already out of that 15? Like, it's crazy. So this is
we
a
didn't even
really
touch
hard
on
one.
Ziggler.
Ziggler, always a chance too. They could do something there.
Um, you do, you know, when you got Jeff Hardy, more than Matt, even the pot that Jeff Hardy would get
Mm-hmm.
still is insane.
And
You
they
gotta
could
think
always
about
take somebody like a Tony D'Angelo and spotlight them from NXT.
that. You could always take a Miles Bourne if you really like. Hey, you, I like your style. Get in there, like for like a Miles Bourne or a
Tavion Heights, or maybe Nathan Fraser gets like some kind of spot or something.
Nathan Fraser should get a spot. There's a lot of options, dude. I love, and we haven't even started talking about winning scenarios, and there's so many more options there.
Now, as far as those scenarios, I said before, I think Kofi's going to be the shortest time. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I like the idea of him being way too overconfident and getting chucked, whether it's by, an Obafemi, anybody big who can throw him. I think it would make for such a great spot.
I could see it being Kofi getting attacked by multiple people.
They could do the thing where just New Day gets jumped. That would be funny as well.
It's like Kofi gets into the ring stops, everybody just starts looking, and he's all like, "Oh, you want to do this? All of you, whatever." And then they all jump him, and then they like collectively, like 5 people or whatever, pick him up and throw him.
And the very next number is Xavier, and they stop and they do it again.
That'd be great. And the people in the ring could be like LA Knight and say Jey Uso and Punk and Cena and Sheamus or something, like some group of people that are like, I guess, well, I mean, they're doing that for the heels too. You could even throw in some heels and be like,
throw in anybody, Miz.
But this is a very babyface, I think, heavy Royal Rumble too this year.
It absolutely is.
Which is crazy because it's like I'm looking at the list of the guarantees and the people that are like 100% confirmed and all, and it's like Rollins and Zayn and Roman and Ray and Penta and LA Knight and Cena and Jay and Punk, and
it's a very babyface heavy company.
Yeah. To fight a babyface and a heel champion, and they've done a lot to set up like Punk and all.
Gonna challenge the babyface.
It's crazy. Yeah, like even a guy like, it's not gonna be like Logan Paul is not gonna be a part of like the Kofi thing, for instance. Logan Paul's one of the only heels that has evolved here.
They did a weird thing with him where he was like, I have to get the number 30 spot. I'm like, you're Logan Paul. Why wasn't the gimmick just, and I only agreed to be in this match if I got the number 30 spot? And then you're number 30.
Where was that? I didn't see that.
That was the opening segment of Raw.
He said about that he has to get the number 30 spot?
He was like, I work smarter, not harder. I want the number 30 spot so I can just do as little as possible to make it to WrestleMania.
Huh. I didn't catch that line. So again, it's like you got to pay attention to all these little things. The number 30 spot, the number 1, number 2. We didn't talk about that. There's like some interesting enough spots for the women. I don't have I didn't set out my list yet for that, but I think number 30 is going to be Becky.
I like number 1 and 2 being either Bayley and Roxanne or Bayley and Charlotte. But I think Bayley will be number 1.
Who do you have for number 30 though?
Oh, Becky. Becky sounds good.
Yeah.
I like that idea of like, oh, maybe she's not coming. Just kidding. like,
I mean, Nikki Bella could be a number 30 as well. That could be a good way to like not have her wrestle much of the match. But those two, I'm kind of, somewhere around there. I don't have any idea for number 1 and number 2. It could be like Bianca and Io or something. Probably know. Actually, I could see Io being number 2 or number 1. I'm gonna have to put a note down myself about that. So On the men's side, though, God, it's like Mello could have a start off with anybody and it'd be fucking great. You want to start off like Mello and Breaker? Tear the house down? Do you want to put down like Mello and Trick, we said? You want to give him somebody like a Sheamus to work with and see how that works out? Hell yeah.
You know, I like the idea of maybe even starting out with Cena. I don't think you'll do it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I like the idea of, hey, there's a lot of good options to just get Cena in there and have a little spot with this one and that one and that one. And, you know, that's an option. Roman, he won't do it, but Roman being number one would be insane. Do the one versus all thing. Are you the tribal chief? Prove it. Like
Roman, Cena, Rollins, Punk. Like those four, how do you even, that's not even factoring in Drew McIntyre. That's not even factoring in like Logan Paul. It's not factoring in like an Aleister Black returning. Like those four alone, how do you put those four in the Royal Rumble and space them out properly? Because, you know, I don't think Punk's going to start off, but you got to start with somebody within the first five. I think somebody should pop up. Or like, if they go to like number 13 and we haven't had any of those four yet, it's going to seem like they're just back ending the Royal Rumble. And that can work too. Like, you know, there's different ways to book the Royal Rumble. Sometimes we have it where it's like you start off with somebody that goes all the way to the end. Sometimes you have the winner is number 9, you know, whatever it might be. But I'd like to see in some particular moments here, wherever they place them, Joe Hendry's not going to get a match with John Cena. It's just not going to be like, okay,
but he could get a moment with John. You know,
he could get a moment.
I want him to,
right?
You know, do all of this.
I think Karrion Kross and The Miz should be in the Royal Rumble around the same time, so that there can be some kind of thing with them, because it's not the most important thing in the world if it doesn't happen, but like, they are harping on this idea that The Miz is with Karrion Kross. The Wyatt Six moved to SmackDown. Miz is like, oh, that's great. Miz gets moved to SmackDown. Oh shit, I don't have Karrion Kross and Akam and Razor anymore, so I need to get some new people that can help me fight the Wyatt Six. Maybe it's Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. No, they're sent to Raw. Ah, shit. So I like the idea of Karrion Kross and Miz crossing over in some fashion, and it being like, I don't know, say like John Cena takes them both out.
You know, I really also like the idea of, for 2 seconds, I was like, okay, Miz, Waller, in theory, feels perfect.
I liked that idea. And then they immediately go,
by the way, you're on Raw. It's like, oh, come on. But
I liked the idea that they could be packing up the Miz and they could have like a trio stable.
It's like a more charismatic Miztourage.
Yeah. And like the cocky douchebag asshole characters. Of course they would be friends. I buy that those three would get a beer together more so than the Miz would with like Giovanni Vinci or something, you know?
Yeah. That poor bastard.
I don't know when we're going to see him. If. I want to see Penta and Rey at some point.
I do think you'll get that, but I also think maybe for just a brief moment before they get attacked by heels, including possibly Chad Gable and Dominic Mysterio.
Mm-hmm. Which we didn't get anything this week on Raw about the whole call this guy and he's going to help you out with his whole luchador problem.
Well, they had a digital exclusive about it, but it was more of the same of like, call this guy. By the way, Aleister Black, his school is the Dark Arts Academy, the Dark Arts of Lucha Libre. It doesn't play into my Penta Malachi or Aleister 1 and 2 thing. I just think that would be a really funny, like, hey, they're here now. But it could end up being Aleister Black helping out Chad Gable with his luchador problem. It'd be a weird pairing, but I could see it.
I also don't think that's going to happen anymore, though, because of Zelina Vega moving to SmackDown. Because you got to assume at this point, Aleister Black's going to go to SmackDown.
I like the idea of Dom and Gable against Penta and Ray in a hair versus mask match.
Then you get Chad Gable filling the next set of the Kurt Angle thing.
Yeah, he's just achieving little by little. He's Kurt Angling.
Eventually, people are going to call him Perk Gable. It's like
no, well, no. Wasn't there a big thing this week that Kurt Angle was like, please don't say Perk Angle?
Right, because why would he ever want people to call him Perk Angle?
Which is just like, yeah, like you needed to be told to not mock the man's drug addiction, like
right. Like in other news, water wet. Like, yeah, of course he's upset. You call the fucker Perk Angle. It's like Cocaine Smith or something. Like what the fuck?
Cocaine Citrus.
Yeah, it's my other name. I couldn't resist. I had to do that. I want to see, like I said, like Penta and Ray at some point. I want to see, like, there's so many people. Cena alone that I want to see have a moment with, like Cena and Mello, Cena and Breaker, Cena and Punk. You know, tease these matches that could happen throughout the year. Give him some wins where he tosses out somebody like a Miz to kind of be like, look at that. Like they always had each other's number and all. But put Cena in the ring with, like, yeah, of course he's going to be in the ring with Roman. Of course he's going to be in the ring with Punk, whatever. Give me Cena in a quick moment with Drew McIntyre. Because I don't know if they're going to do that match.
I think Drew gets a match.
Do something where if you want to put Pat McAfee in there, like maybe do the Corey Graves thing or something, or, you know, give me a Jay and Jimmy moment with somebody. This is going to be a potential moment type of WrestleMania. There's Royal Rumble. There is so much of this that we don't know that they can play around with that I think they kind of are almost like spoiled. At this point, they could do so much that if you just do any of it over and over and over, people are going to be like, my God, this Royal Rumble is great.
Yeah. Or it could be the opposite. There's so much to do that they could miss so many that people are like, how did you not have a dedicated moment where just Punk and Cena were in the ring?
Yeah, how was Logan Paul eliminated before John Cena even got into the Royal Rumble? How was Shinsuke Nakamura number 3 and he got out at number 7? And, you know, like they could do so much, and they also have so much that they have to leave on the floor because it's just, do you put Jacob Fatu in this? If you do, holy shit, now we got a whole nother person we have to factor around. And you can't have everybody that's such a big star in this have a really great showing because it's just mathematically impossible. Like, you have Jacob Fatu as who you think is going to be most eliminations, right?
Yeah.
If he's in the match and he gets the most eliminations, he mathematically, based off of the Royal Rumble statistics, which of course go to the Royal Rumble stats page on smarkandmoment.com. I update that with a lot of information that you're not going to find on the internet. Statistically, he would have to get 5. Between 5 and 8 is typically what the most is. So you take 5 of those names out already. That means that there are only, 23 other names or so that like a John Cena can take out. And Roman's got to eliminate some people. Rollins has to. Sammy has to.
See, Roman is somebody who could also break his own record.
He could.
He just has to get in early enough. But I think you run the risk of people going, fuck this guy. Like, the whole past 5 years have been Roman, you know? And I also think, and I know this is a possibility we don't want to talk about, but maybe Cena gets the shortest time in the Rumble.
It could be. Like, Cena could just be like, hey, I know it's not much of a chance for me to win the Royal Rumble, but
And
I'm
then he
going to
loses,
try.
like-
And then he gets eliminated in a pretty short order and comes back around and goes, well, I got to try to win the Elimination Chamber, and, you know, maybe gets that. Because he's supposed to be booked for the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I mean, that's the entire commercials for like 3 months already have just been, come see John Cena in Toronto.
Now, that doesn't mean that he's booked in the Elimination Chamber match. Because they've done plenty different things. And that's something to factor into is, look, at Tuesday night, they're going to know who they have winning this Royal Rumble. Like, they have that set up right now. And I'm sure that they have plans for WrestleMania, and I'm sure that they have plans for Royal Rumble to lead into certain things for, like, Elimination Chamber and all. But we don't know if the Elimination Chamber is, we would assume 2 matches, one for the women, one for the men. We don't know if it's a number 1 contender thing for both, or one or the other. And if so, it's one or the other, then which one? We don't know if it's number 1 contender for which title. So 4 options just for a number 1 contender thing. Because you could have somebody wins, challenges Gunther. Now it's number 1 contender for Cody. Somebody wins, challenges Cody. Now it's number 1 contender for Gunther. Or a champion goes in and defends the title. Because that happens plenty times. Or we've had years where it's like, okay, the Elimination Chamber is a tag team thing, or it's for the Intercontinental title or something. They could do any number of things. John Cena being in the Elimination Chamber card does not mean John Cena is 100% guaranteed to be in the Elimination Chamber match, let alone that that's to determine who fights a champion at Mania. And I'm going to come back around to that a little bit, but he could be in a position where he doesn't do super well in this, and then he wins that. And then we talked about shortest time. The longest time idea, do you want to give that to somebody like a Punk? Do you want to put Rollins in there super early and have him last until the end? Is this going to be a spot for somebody that they have nothing else for, but they want to still spotlight, like a Sami Zayn?
Right, does Chad Gable get 50 minutes?
Right. Does he start off and just last until, you know, he starts off at number 1, 2, 3, and he lasts until number 28 comes out, and it's like, wow, what a great showing, but he's not even in the final 4, but he just happened to last the longest? Mathematically, it could happen. You get Dominic Mysterio out there at number 6, and he could just lay down the entire time and hold on to the ropes like Road Dogg did that one year and end up being the longest lasting or something. But I'm going to say the longest time. I had originally down, I don't know if they even published the thing yet for What Culture about the predictions and stuff. I had down Jey Uso before, but then I've since realized that he had the longest time last year. So I'm leaning a little bit more towards Seth Rollins now.
I'm going Rollins. I think Rollins could even start it off. I'm thinking Rollins has a major showing, and then Punk eliminates him and he unravels again. Now there is a part of me that's like, WrestleMania has so many different paths, but, and we haven't talked about this, but maybe Roman's just not in the title match. You know, maybe it's just not Roman. Maybe we do get the Roman Seth grudge match, you know, or maybe we get Roman Punk grudge match. I am kind of leaning after last night, like, oh, they set Punk and Cody up really well there.
They've done a really good job in making me feel like I don't know what they're doing. And that makes me nervous in some ways, because I'm like, man, I don't want Punk versus Cody, but I also don't want, you know, Punk versus Roman to main event in a non-title match, nor do I want either of these champions to lose their titles. And it's like, well, I want Gunther to fight somebody that's really worthwhile. Man, it'd be so great if he fights John Cena. But does John Cena just win this and challenge Gunther? And then who fights Cody? And then, you know, like, it's kind of, and what do you do for the other people? Like,
we also have, it could be Cena Cody.
It could be Cena Cody. It could be, well, I guess let's put it out there. Somebody's winning the Royal Rumble to challenge Cody or Gunther. realistically speaking, it's probably not going to be Kevin Owens, and it's probably not going to be somebody beating Gunther beforehand. So if it's Gunther that gets challenged, the options, I think, are not necessarily in any order. There is a slight chance, meaning it's not going to happen, but hey, Braun Breaker has been teased that I'm going to fight Gunther at some point. It's not going to happen, though. He's going to be IC champion heading in. We were supposed to get Punk and Gunther at some point, but they haven't set that up. If Punk wins, he's challenging Cody.
Yeah, they made that very clear last night.
I don't think there's much of a chance that Drew McIntyre wins this. As great as Drew McIntyre is, it's not his year. But Drew is within the discussion way more than, like Jimmy Uso or, Austin Theory or something. And if Drew were to win, I think it would be Drew and Cody.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess they've done Drew and Gunther, haven't they?
Right. I think Jay, as much as people want to get behind Jay, if he were to win, he would challenge Gunther, but I don't think Jay's got much of a chance.
Yeah, I can't see him doing that.
John Cena could go to either of them, and even though the Cody option is not my preferred thing, that's something that we've heard a lot of buzz and chatter about. So I think more than likely if John Cena ends up winning this, he challenges Cody.
And Cena, let's be clear, just because Punk is that set that all up last night with you're unraveling Cody, I see what's going on with you. Cena is the guy you pay that story off of.
You say, look, I was the champion for so many years. I get the pressures.
And not only that, but Cody literally going, I wanted the John Cena schedule. I wanted the John Cena spot.
And you get the two big baby faces to be like, let's have some opportunities here and there for us to kind of play a little bit of the tweenerish, heelish aspect against each other, but we're still firmly baby faces. Come back around to that. Logan Paul does have a chance. And they set it up enough that it's like, okay, well, if Logan Paul wins, he probably challenges Gunther, which is funny.
Here's what I'll say. I think there's a shot that Logan Paul wins. If this Royal Rumble, for whatever reason, opens the show, I'd be more likely to think a guy like Logan might win.
Right. So that way it's like people aren't upset.
And it's also like, if this Rumble opens the show, I can see it being, okay, so the lesser of the two challengers will win here, and it'll be the guy challenging Gunther, whether it's Rollins or whoever.
Yeah, I agree. Penta's not going to win. Ray's not going to win. Roman Reigns. If Roman wins, it's Roman Cody.
Roman Cody 3 isn't a crazy idea. It's an annoying idea, but it's not a crazy idea.
It would be the type of thing where you would be like, okay, I get that the number crunchers decided to do what they think is the safest and the least entertaining, like, creative option. Like, I'll put it out there for Marvel terms. We don't know what's happening with Secret Wars and all that shit now, and it seems like it's a mess, and they've botched all the post-Endgame stuff in so many different ways. But now it's like all these reports about, like, hey, Robert Downey Jr., they want him to stay on as Doctor Doom and after all of this, and they want Hugh to continue to be Wolverine after this. And it's like, that's just because you're like, oh, people went to see Deadpool and Wolverine. Can't we milk that longer? Why change something that makes money?
There's a huge issue with that in all forms of entertainment media right now.
Mm-hmm. And to go, hey, wouldn't it be great if the Robert Downey Jr. Doctor Doom thing, why would we change to a lesser known actor? Why wouldn't we just go with the money? And it's like, just because the numbers say that doesn't mean that that's the best thing. That's how you
see my compromise there. And the way that, because I'm not always against that either. My compromise there is You put Cena over. Cena wins. And you send people home happy that way. Because he's John Cena.
Well, I mean, as far as Roman and Cody.
I know, but I'm saying, like, I agree with number crunchers, and that's why I said the Roman Cody thing isn't the most insane idea. It's just boring.
Right.
But if I'm going to say, let me milk your nostalgia, I'm putting John Cena pointing at the sign at the end of the night. You know?
Now,
That's what I would do.
Sami Zayn's one of those guys that they're setting up as like Sami and Kevin. Sami has something with Drew. Sami has something with Seth. Sami's got something with Cody. Sami beat Gunther last year at WrestleMania. So,
but to be clear, they're also setting up Sami's got something with Karrion Kross. This dude can have any spot on the card, and they'll be like, "Well, we told you this was coming."
Yeah, it could very easily just be mid-card spot at Mania for Sami. And I think that's more than likely rather than him fighting for a world title. So between Drew and Seth.
I think honestly he's fighting Kevin in some form or fashion again.
It could be. Seth has history with Cody, but I think that if Seth wins this, he challenges Gunther.
I think so too. And to be honest, I think that would be a waste of a Rumble. If you're going to do that, win the Chamber. I think the person who wins the Rumble should challenge Cody.
Now, we talked longest time, shortest time, most eliminations. I think it could go to so many different people because you could, if you start off with like a Punk or Rollins or somebody, then they could just rack them up throughout the match. If you want to just have Roman come in at number 28 and be like, Roman just goes, see ya Finn, see ya Grayson, see ya Priest, see ya whatever. They could do that. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Roman than anybody else right now. But, I mean, Roman, Seth, Cena, Punk.
Since he's not advertised yet, I won't say Jacob. I'll say Roman.
Who do you got for Final Four?
Roman, Cena, Punk, Rollins.
That's my same Final Four with my outsiders kind of in like a Final 8 type of scenario. The other 4 being Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, and then I kind of flip-flopped a little bit here and there, but then I sort of figured, okay, well, maybe that other spot really doesn't matter. But it could be like a Jay or Aleister Black or somebody like that.
It could be a Jay. It could be, Logan's a great shot. There's a lot, man. There's a lot. But the reason I'm going with those 4 is it makes the most sense for moments. Because you can have a moment with, Punk
if the
and
4
Rollins.
Corners, like as great as Drew McIntyre is
that's
or something.
That's kind of how I vision it too. It's got to be the 4 corners. And then you look at it, you go, well, Cena can have this moment with Punk. And then maybe he has a moment with Rollins where Rollins is like, hey, remember when I bent your nose to the other side of your face? Like, there's a lot there, but I think it's those 4 because I think those 4 eliminations matter the most.
Those are the 4 biggest names, too.
I think with Cena, I think you get a Michaels 2010 moment where he's fighting and he's clawing and he's holding on and he hits the floor and it's just like, shit. What am I going to do now? I think Rollins getting eliminated by either Punk or Roman is him off the deep end.
See, this is so fucking tough for me because I'm like, Sami and Drew and all these people, there's so much crossover that Rollins can eliminate or be eliminated by Punk, Cena, or Reigns. And I wouldn't bat an eye. He could also be taken out by Sami. He could also be taken out by Drew. And I wouldn't bat an eye. And he can win the whole damn thing and I wouldn't bat an eye. And you got like Punk could take out Cena and everybody's like, oh, can't wait to see that match. Punk and Roman. Oh, well, we got something going on there. What's this favor that Punk has They did a point about making it so where it's like, hey, your boy to Paul Heyman. I'm not talking about Roman. I'm talking about Punk.
I thought that was a great segment. First of all, Drew McIntyre putting puzzle pieces together and saying, I eliminated Roman in 2020, and that started the bloodline because he had to go away, and I eliminated your beast. This is all my fault. I thought that was fantastic. But I think more so him going, I haven't forgotten that I want to kill CM Punk either, so just make sure you let CM Punk know I still want to kill him, is great TV. Great TV.
I don't know who's going to win this.
I love it. Don't you love that, though?
Because there's like, I'll put it this way. Punk, Rollins, Cena, Reigns. I have the same Final Four as you. The one that I think has the least likely chance of win, which sounds baffling, is Roman Reigns.
I agree.
I'm like, Punk and Gunther, Punk and Cody, Seth Rollins and Gunther, Cena, Cody, Cena, Gunther. Out of those, I rank them in kind of some different ways, but I am a little bit more leaning towards Punk beat Rollins on the Netflix premiere. I think Rollins is going to take Punk out.
No, I can't see that. Because then Punk, that leaves Punk needing to go after Rollins again. And I don't think they want to do that.
I kind of feel like Punk and Rollins are going to have this revisited here and there. And it's like they had their match on Raw. Punk got it over. Rollins eliminates Punk. That kind of evens the score. And then there is a part of me that's leaning. I think right now, and I don't know how they get to this point, I think we're getting Punk and Roman at Mania. I think we're getting Rollins and Gunther. And we're getting Cena and Cody. And I don't know how they get to Punk and Roman. But Roman, he already beat Solo. What does Roman do?
There's always the Cody. It's crazy because it could literally be as simple and as bland as Roman Cody, and you just go, "Fuck, again." But that is a route for them. They haven't built up Gunther to the level where Roman just goes, "Fuck it, I want to elevate that belt." But he could go. You know what? I'm gonna now bring that title to the island of relevancy. And damn it all, it would become the biggest title if Roman has it.
And it's weird that it's like Drew is so focused on people shouldn't be helping out Roman. Owens is so much on, well, you shouldn't have teamed with Roman. Even to the point that I'm going to be okay with Solo, which makes no sense. Solo is going to do something. Fucking who knows? Kind of feel like it might be Solo versus Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania. I don't know.
Well, at this point, I told you I want WrestleMania to be Jacob squashes Solo. Like, Jay's so over.
And it's all like, where do you... Sammy, Drew, Roman, Rollins, Punk, Solo, Jacob, Tama, Tongaloa, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton. Like, they're all lumped together. And I'm leaning towards Rollins wins the Royal Rumble. But man, if they go with Punk winning and it's just Punk versus Cody, I wouldn't be shocked.
Right now, I'm leaning towards... I'm kind of leaning towards Roman cashes in the favor and last eliminates... I mean, Punk cashes in the favor and last eliminates Roman because Heyman does something to keep his word. Right now, it's crazy But there's a way where they could do, let's say Gunther,
Punk versus Roman versus Cody.
let's say Gunther has to defend his title in the Chamber. There's a way that they could do Punk cashes in a favor and is inserted in that, or Roman just says, fuck you, I'm gonna win that one then. And it's Roman Punk for the title that no one's talking about. Because we're all focused on the Cody title.
That sucks for Gunther if he ends up having that title taken off of him before Mania.
It does, but look, somebody always gets the shaft around this time of year. And if it wasn't for the fact that, and everybody disagrees with me when I say, well, Cody and Cena is the one match that I can realistically see not needing the title. But Punk and Roman need the title to main event. And Punk and Roman would need to be the main event. They can't main event in a grudge match based on the love of Paul Heyman. You know what I mean?
And there's a part of me that almost kind of wants to go, well, shit, isn't the match Punk versus Rollins versus Roman versus Drew versus Sammy? And it's like, you can't do that. Because then even then,
at Mania. I wish you could.
Even then, that's not even for the title because that doesn't have Cody or Gunther in it. Even if you do Cena and Cody, what the fuck does Gunther do? And then you go, well, fuck me, Gunther against, you can't throw Gunther in with the Roman story. I don't think.
The only way that we could kill all the birds with one stone here is if we somehow got someone to agree. Like, we got Cody to agree, okay, you're a workhorse, defend your title on both nights. And then he does the Cena match and the Roman and Punk match. And then, Cody fights the winner of that. It's crazy.
Or we get Cena wins the Royal Rumble, challenges Gunther, takes those two out of the mix. And then we get Elimination Chamber is like whatever, I don't know. But we end up getting the linchpin of like Cody, Punk, Rollins, Reigns, Drew, Sammy in that kind of thing. Sammy you probably take out because Sammy's probably going to do something with Karrion Kross and do something with Kevin Owens or something, whatever. Punk, Rollins, Roman, Drew, and Cody all in the match, and it's like, but even then, how many fucking people can you throw in there?
See, I think Drew's gonna end up with maybe he'll fight solo. I don't know why I said so. Maybe he'll do something, but it won't be earth shattering. Or maybe he'll fight Breaker.
And you still got to factor in so many people are all across the board. Like, it's like, okay, well then we got too many fucking names.
2 months have been the best in terms of the storytelling being interesting enough that pieces of the puzzle can shift around. But now you're at nut cutting time, and it's like, who gets the shaft?
And who gets the nut?
And who gets the nut?
Well, as Angus Citrus, I could talk about a little fruit cocktail in this.
Listen, I'm kind of the opinion, maybe the safest bet, just as we're having this conversation and can't decide, maybe the safest bet is John wins because he can challenge anybody.
And I was thinking John Cena was going to win until I started to convince myself that Rollins was going to win. And up until we started this conversation, I was planning on this being like, and I'm going Seth Rollins wins and he challenges Gunther. And now I'm convincing myself Punk is going to win.
See, it's hard. Specifically, it's hard because of how stupid WWE is now with the idea of like, you just have these moments, these picturesque moments in your head. And I'm like, you want to see Punk point at the sign. You want to see Cena point at the sign. That's kind of where I'm at with those two. Rollins, it's like, okay, that takes the Gunther of it all out of the equation. But then I go, fuck it. There's always a chamber for that. Or a tournament you can do later.
Because Gunther is very much like, I can see him being like, I need somebody to earn their spot to challenge me, so you need to prove that you are worthy of that by winning the Elimination Chamber.
Or are we thinking too hard about it? And is it actually just Gunther and Logan in a whatever kind of world title match? And Rollins is actually going to fucking fight Roman or Cody or Punk.
And a non-title.
Yeah, like in a grudge match. See, and if we're going to go grudge match territory, I'm of the opinion you do Rollins and Roman. And maybe if you can't get them a main event, you do Punk and Cena at WrestleMania? Maybe? Just as like a, hey, this is a fun... Look, it's not that far
it's all crazy. Like,
look, you got to think about it like this. Punk and Cena right now is not that far off from Undertaker and Triple H in 2011.
Right.
So it's a reasonable idea that you would just do a major grudge match based on nostalgia.
And it's also like, if you did... I still say, like, if you do, like, Punk and Roman, non-title, obviously, and you give that the night one main event over Gunther and over Rhea and over Tiffany, people are going to be like, why are there 3 world titles that didn't have a main event over this? And, like, we get why the tag titles main evented that year. And we get why Owens and Stone Cold did that year. But this isn't even the John Cena match. So it's almost like, if Cena's not fighting for a title, then Cena should be either the opener or the closer. They're the opener of night 1 or night 2, or the closer of night 1. And then if it's Cena and Cody, okay, take that out. But then what do you do with the other ones? And it's like, I don't envy them in trying to figure out how to balance this all out. And this is all just because The Rock didn't want to do it.
Absolutely.
Because if The Rock would have done it, well, we would have had Cody and Rock and Gunther and somebody else or whatever.
It would have been Cody and Rock, Cena and Gunther, and you save Punk and Rollins for WrestleMania.
Right. And then Roman fights Solo. And then, you know, Drew and Sammy and all those people are somewhere in the mix.
And then you shuffle that deck and like well, we all hate each other because of the bloodline thing. There's so much meat on the bone for this year's Rumble. And that, to be honest, that is what makes this the most exciting Royal Rumble scenario in at least the last 5 years.
I think almost 10. I can't remember the last time, more than that even. I don't remember the last time that I've been this much of like a, just, I don't know, kind of scenario.
Well, the one that comes to mind for most recent is the one that Nakamura won. Because I remember thinking the same thing of where it's like, you got Cena, and you got, you know, this one's here, and that one's here. Or the 2017 one where it was like, you got Taker and Goldberg and Brock and all these people. Like, I think, I really do think you could have so many different options. Gun to my head, though, I'm going to go Punk wins, last eliminates Roman, cashes in the favor.
Right now at 5:30, I think Punk wins. And I think he eliminates... No. Yeah, fuck me. I don't know. I'm gonna say Rollins wins and he eliminates Punk last. That's where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna revert back to that. And I'm gonna revert back to the idea of Punk is going to be really pissed that he lost, and that's how the favor is going to get cashed in. I don't know how and in what capacity, but I think if he wins the Royal Rumble, he doesn't need the favor anymore.
But that's why I think Royal Rumble is the favor.
I mean, that's, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited that we don't know.
Because if it's not Punk directly built into the favor, who takes out Roman?
I mean, I could see Rollins, I could see Punk, and I could see Cena. I could see all of them potentially just getting one up on Roman. But it depends on how much they want to protect him, too. And I don't know if the favor is going to lead to Heyman screwing over Roman. Or
he
if the favor...
so indebted to Roman these days.
The favor could be Heyman convinces Roman to help Punk. Like, maybe it's, say, I don't know, like, maybe the final three are Rollins, Punk, and Roman. And Rollins takes out Reigns. And it's Rollins and Punk in the ring. And Punk goes and looks over
it's
at
like, it's
Heyman.
a Rumble 92 scenario.
Kind of. Yeah. Like, he goes like, hey, Paul, I'm going to cash in that favor now. Tell your boy to help me take out Rollins. Because there is so much of this idea of like Rollins is in this thing hovering around with Drew about the whole like, don't get in bed with Roman and fuck Roman.
And I want to point out this podcast, and if you're still with us, God bless you, thank you. I want to point out on this very podcast, maybe the night of WrestleMania 40, I can't remember if I was on that podcast or not, but definitely the first podcast after Mania, I said, I want Rollins Roman at next year's WrestleMania. Because there's so much there where Rollins turns Roman into a child. Like, Roman just immediately, all the trauma floods in and he can't control himself. And then you think about how mad Rollins is that after all that work was done, everybody just teams with Roman anyway. There's enough of a story between those two people that, to me, if I was doing it in the way to make the most sense, it's Punk Gunther, they get a Saturday main event. Rollins and Roman have a grudge match that can semi-main either night, and Cena defeats Cody for the WWE title in the final match of the Sunday show. That's the way I would do it. But I'm not the one booking this, and we just don't know if they're going to just say, actually, what we really want is, we love all that effort you put into it, but it's actually just Roman and Cody. Haha. Like,
and if there's some kind of thing with like Punk uses the whole thing with Heyman and the cashing in the favor and screws over somebody like a Rollins, it kind of almost de facto makes Punk and, to an extent, Roman heels.
A heel.
But if Rollins is the one to be like, well, I'm so goddamn upset about it that I'm going to turn heel, then we're going to have the argument of, oh, it makes perfect sense that he would be pissed because he got screwed over. So why is he the heel?
Yeah, but that's never stopped anyone from being the heel.
Right.
Drew McIntyre's been a justified heel for the last year.
Exactly. So it's like, you can't even say, well, the heel dynamics would make sense. It's like, motherfucker, I don't know what they're going to do for this year's WrestleMania. And the Royal Rumble leading into that whole idea is like, I'm very excited to watch this pay-per-view. I'm more excited to watch this pay-per-view this Saturday than I've been to watch any pay-per-view since WrestleMania.
I'd even go further back than that for you. I'm sure it's been like the last couple of WrestleManias, probably before the pandemic, even, if we're being honest. Like,
well, at least for Mania this year that we just had, I was like, they gotta fucking give it to Cody this time. Like, come on. It has to fucking happen. So I was excited for that. But I'm like, wow, for like a perception of me being like, motherfucking Rock ruined this whole thing. We could have had Rock and Roman. We could have already done the Cody and Rock thing at like SummerSlam. Like, what a dick. I was like, I'm not going to like Mania this year. It's going to be a bunch of filler matches. The fact that I don't know what they're going to do is making me very excited.
It still could be, but right now, on January 28th, they have a lot of positivity going into this Rumble. And that's just to recap, by the way. The two undercard matches are going to be bangers.
Mm-hmm.
The women's Rumble should be great fun with a bunch of surprises.
That we still don't know how they're going to go in what direction there.
And the most star-studded men's Rumble match in at least a decade.
Insane. So we, of course, will talk some more about this on the hot tags. We'll try to break down anything else that changes in the meantime, whether we get some information about, NXT stuff tonight or whatever it might be. We're going to talk about that all on Friday afternoon. We'll have maybe our updated and final Royal Rumble predictions, which of course go ahead and fill out the Royal Rumble predictions contest over the course of the next few days. I am going to shut that off and where the poll will not work anymore. Like, you won't be able to fill out the form when the kickoff is going on, or the countdown show. At some point during that, I'm going to shut it off. So you have the option of going ahead and filling that out now and still editing your response up until then. But that'll talk about the number 1 to 30 for all those, the most eliminations, quickest time, longest time, final 4, and the winners. That'll factor into the fantasy league. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but Callum will explain that, or you can go to WWEFantasyLeague.com and see some updated things there. As I mentioned before, we will eventually come back around and talk about our fantasy booking of the mock draft that we had done. That was something that we were planning on doing, and it just kept getting pushed off. So it's probably realistically going to be the Dark Cast for February, and we'll probably record that after the Royal Rumble at some point. Not like immediately after or whatever, but we will have immediately following the Royal Rumble the Pay-Per-Viewpoint post show. So make sure that you set up your email alerts for that. Tune in to youtube.com/smarkoutmoment and chat it up during there. Make sure that you are following everything that you can check out with the Darkcast on the Fanboys Anonymous side of things, the link tree at amangotree.com, all the links that you find there. Follow me at Tony Mango. Follow Rob.
Yep, follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. Check out all my work on Fightful.com. And I always thank you for the support.
Okay, everybody, you know the deal. Leave those comments below. Stay tuned. Check out smarkoutmoment.com and everything else that's happening. And we'll see you on Friday. Adios. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.